The Directorate of Public Relations of the Australian Army presents War Correspondent. Your name is Mike McCann. You're a war correspondent. For the people of this atomic time who know that peace belongs only to the prepared, you tell these stories of the Australian Army on active service. Your name is Mike McCann, War Correspondent.
I'm Mike McCann. The movement of war sometimes resembles the rhythm of the tide. There's advance, followed by withdrawal, a movement back and a surging forward. In World War II, the classic example of that movement was the Allied withdrawal through Dunkirk and the subsequent surging back to Europe across the beaches of Normandy. But in the Southwest Pacific, there was no such dramatically defined movement. The emphasis was on the advance towards Tokyo. But there were withdrawals, minor withdrawals, mainly dictated by the Allied policy to bypass Japanese-held islands, so the enemy forces there would wither on the vine. And one such withdrawal was from Japanese-occupied Timor. For 13 months, Australian independent companies, consisting of a small force of Australian soldiers trained in commando-type fighting, had occupied the attention of up to 30,000 Japanese troops, until the tide of war moved past Timor. And then it was decided to withdraw from the island and let the enemy idle uselessly in the backwater. But withdrawal is rarely a simple matter of inexpensive action. And on Timor, the Japanese had what should have been an overwhelming superiority in numbers. The enemy had coastal air patrols. In short, the Japanese could be expected to observe any movement towards an embarkation point on the coast, and to move troops to that point in sufficient strength to decimate the withdrawing Australians. But that didn't happen. During their time of fighting on Timor, the Australian soldiers of the independent companies provided a textbook model of how such companies should function. In withdrawal, their efficiency was equally evident on that January day in 1943, when the enemy was pressing closer.
You'll soon have to get that beard off, Sergeant.
Well, there's no regrets at all, sir. I want to sink back into a barber's chair as soon as we get to Darwin and say, shave and haircut with all the trimmings.
Well, that's the way I plan it, too. But we've got to get to Darwin first, eh? How's everything shaping?
Still smooth, sir.
Let's see the latest reports. Yes, the platoons are coming back nicely. Rear parties holding back the enemy. Natives given messages to pass on to any Australians they might see in the area after we withdraw. The natives know by now that we're pulling out, Sergeant. It's not easy to leave them behind. Not easy at all. Well, that's the way it's to be. So far, so good, Sergeant. Looks as though we might get away with it.
That's the way it's shaping, sir. I've got my fingers crossed, though. It'd be a slap in the eye for the mighty Nippon if we slip out without him knowing it.
When, Sergeant? Not if.
That's right, sir. We've been on top of him so far. No reason why we shouldn't trump him in the last hand.
No. Home stretch. But tomorrow will be the toughest stretch. We've got the rivers to cross. Swamp in the open country. Just a single track across grassland country. Ideal for Jap aerial observation. However, that's for tomorrow.
Message just in from Darwin, sir.
Thanks. Transmission still clear?
Clear and strong, sir.
From Land Headquarters, Melbourne, eh?
Bad news, Major?
Mixed bag, Sergeant. Land Headquarters require a lieutenant and 12 other ranks to stay behind. Observe and report only. No offensive action. And the party not to include Major B.J. Callanan. My idea and someone else to carry it out. Well, not to reason why. Thanks, Sig. Sergeant, we'd better set out an instruction, and at the same time, send a message to the platoons asking for volunteers to stay behind.
So, Major B.J. Callanan, DSO, MC, later promoted to Colonel, a senior officer with the 1st Independent Company to fight in Timor, was ordered to ask for volunteers, while the remainder of the force approached the beach rendezvous with the Royal Australian Navy. At the same time, the weather withdrew its support from the evacuation, and heavy rain began falling, so that on the last stage of the approach to the beach, rivers flooded, and the winding track became a slippery, boggy morass.
The Japs come on us now. They'll take me for a native.
Not with that beard, they won't.
They won't be able to see that for mud either if I slip again. Last time I went in up to my armpits. This is the soupiest piece of swamp I've ever had to go through.
And don't forget you've got to come back through it, too. Didn't they ever tell you not to volunteer in the army?
Sure. But I couldn't let you stay here without me to keep you out of strife. Give us a hand, will you? I can't get a grip on these mangrove roots.
So you volunteered to stay behind to look after me? Well, starting right now. I've got hold of one of the carrier boys behind me. He's up to his chin. If he goes down any further, the only way we'll be able to locate him is by the load on the top of his head.
Okay, mate. Here's my hand. Hang on to it, and I'll try and climb up this mangrove. Made it. Hold on to my belt now while I get a fresh grip.
Listen, Phil.
I can't do two things at once.
Jap Ricky, Phil.
Yeah, I'm wasting his time. If he could see through this rain, he certainly wouldn't be able to see through the mud. Come on, or we'll miss seeing the others off.
That Jap wasn't over the beach.
What if he was, Ron? There'd be no sign yet of any evacuation. Our fellas will all lie in the scrub till nightfall. And the tide comes right up to the scrub line. No, the Japs don't know this is on. And they won't know until the fellas have gone.
And we're left.
That's the plot.
Well, I hope the plot thickens and the mud doesn't.
How are we coming along, Sergeant?
I've still got my fingers crossed, sir. Looks like we're on schedule. It's just on 5, and the boys are still coming in from the east.
Good. Make sure the lads keep under cover until dusk. I haven't seen a check yet of equipment.
Oh, it's a slow job, Major, with all the boys spread out through the scrub and with their equipment under cover. But it looks like the carriers are getting it in all right.
They're bringing the parachutes recovered from supply drops?
Yes, sir, they're coming in. The native carriers are doing the usual good job. Sort of pity to be leaving them behind, sir.
Yes, Sergeant, it is. Well, I had a report the radio was up. Communications established with Australia, Sergeant?
Contact established, sir.
Good. Well, Sergeant, looks like it, eh?
I'd say so, sir. We've got the bonfires built to pass the recognition signals to the Navy, and each platoon has its own area and is responsible for taking off its own stores. Should go like clockwork, sir.
Yes, hope so. The Portuguese women and children first, then the sick and wounded, the troops, then force headquarters, and finally myself. Except for the volunteers to stay behind, of course.
Sea's getting up a bit, sir.
Yes, and it'll soon be dark. A couple of things I'll have to do before it gets dark, Sergeant. May as well get them over with while we're waiting. Oh, message for me, Sikh?
Oh, only the hour schedule report from Darwin, sir. Proceeding according to plan. Rendezvous time remains unaltered at midnight. Signal fire still to be lit by us as arranged, a half hour before rendezvous time.
Thanks. Well, now I'll do what I have to do. You chaps have a rest. There'll be plenty of work later.
Right you are, Major.
The Major seems a bit upset, Sarge.
It's been a pretty tough time. I reckon he's going to say goodbye to his native lad. It's hard to leave behind someone who's been so loyal.
Yeah, that's right. But we're taking off all we can. And there's some of our blokes staying behind.
A dozen. They're going to be busy looking after themselves when the main force goes. Mighty busy. Well, standing around gossiping won't get the war won. You get your equipment ready for quick dismantling and transport down to the boats.
$23:30, Sergeant. Tell them to light up.
Right, sir.
Light up, boys.
Ah, there they go, sir. Real bonfires. They ought to see them in Darwin.
Let's hope the Japanese don't see them.
Oh, they're too far back behind the swamp, sir. No, they're too busy looting native villages to be snooping along the coast tonight. We can keep these home fires burning all night if we want to.
Home fires, eh? Home fires for the lads staying behind. Be no fires over there in Aussie mid-January. A few bushfires, maybe. Well, Sergeant, any time now, eh?
Yes, sir. Dead on midnight.
There it is. Flash the answer. Good. Now reply to them again. Good. All right. Let's get cracking. Not exactly a picnic, eh, Sergeant?
No, sir. These flat-bottomed plywood boats capsize too easily. They're a real headache in this surf. And we've still got close to 200 of the boys on the beach with their arms and equipment.
Major.
Now, looks like the signaller is looking for you. Here we are, Sig.
Message from the destroyer, sir. No more boats can be sent, and the naval shore party is to return to their ship.
So, that means all the planning is to be wasted. All right, Sergeant. Get the men to stack their arms and equipment in the scrub. We won't be able to carry those whichever way we get out to the ship. Looks like we'll have to wait for the tide to ease.
Right, sir. I'll tell the boys.
The tide's eased now. Yes, it's eased all right. Get the men on their toes, Sergeant. The Arunta will have another go now.
You're right, sir. There's a motorboat out beyond the surf, towing a line of boats. They're making it, sir.
Right. Let's get these men off the beach. What's the count now, Sergeant?
80's still on the beach, sir.
And the destroyer can't get the boats in again, eh? All right. We'll do as they suggest and see if we can swim the men out past the breakers. And how they're going to be picked up in this choppy sea, in this pitch darkness, I don't know. However, let's get underway. Time's a wasted. Well, Sergeant?
Not much luck, sir. A few good swimmers made it out, but the others had to come back in.
Very well. There's only one thing left to do. That is to get a couple of the boats in, load them to the hilt, and let the lads who are staying behind see if they can get us through the surf. Now, Lieutenant Flood is in charge of the volunteer party, Sergeant. Unless we're going to stay with him, we've got to make it this time. We're the last off.
Here come a couple of boats through the surf, Major. Now or never, eh? Oh, we made it, sir.
Yes, thanks to the volunteer party.
Next stop, Darwin, eh?
And there goes Timor. 13 months of it. Well, better get along and meet Commander Moller now. He'll have me in his quarters in this regard. Dirty shirt and shorts, no boots or socks, hat or equipment, and
So, at 30 knots, HMAS Arunta steered straight for Darwin, with only an hour before dawn and the Japanese aircraft. The men withdrawn from Timor bunked down for the 16 hours, almost too weary to eat, almost too excited at the prospect of returning to Australia to sleep. And as the destroyer headed like an arrow for home, the 12 men who had volunteered to remain behind to observe the enemy on Timor heard the sounds of the destroyer fade. They left the surf and tramped back through the scrub, picking up any signs that might have been left to indicate to the Japanese that a withdrawal had taken place. But the natives, who had long accompanied the main force of Australians, knew their friends had gone. And so they turned to searching the equipment left behind in the scrub, turning it over for valuables, seeking arms, salvaging what they could before dawn came. And with the dawn, the Japanese.
Hey, Phil. Bring that box over here, will you?
What was that, Phil?
Those natives settling an argument over who'll get what. Oh, this beach is certainly a mess. The Japs must wake up to what went on here as soon as they get their aircraft up.
Which is any time now. It's after midday. We've been flat out cleaning up since the main force left.
And there's plenty more to do.
I'm not blind, mate. And when we've cleaned this beach up, we've still got to go back through that swamp. Bloke must be soft in the scone to volunteer for this caper. Wonder what the other blokes will be doing now. Probably lying back in the destroyer's wardroom soaking rum and cocoa made with milk.
Probably sick as dogs. Come on. There's plenty more stuff to be picked up. Then we've got to hike into our new campsite and rig up the wireless to contact Darwin. We could be busy for a day or two.
Or a week or two.
Could be. But there's one thing certain. We're going to be busy the rest of today if we're going to stop the Japs finding out that the main force is gone. Give us a hand with this junk over here.
Make yourselves comfortable, lads. We'll have a cuppa in a moment. Well, light up if you want to. Well, first of all, thanks for that cleaning up job on the beach. It was hardjacker, and the hike back through the swamp was no picnic either. But we should be fairly comfortable here. This site should suit us all right. It was a coffee plantation before the Japs came to Timor. Fortunately, the Japanese have not penetrated to this area yet, so the natives are friendly, and we want to keep them that way. So much for that. Now, we've been in touch with Darwin over our radio, and it looks as though we're going to have a pretty quiet time, fighting unless attacked.
Oh, that's a bit stiff.
Yes, well, that should make sense. A dozen of us, plus a couple of stragglers we can expect to join us against the Japs. That makes the odds against us at about 2,000 to 1, which I'd say, in the terms of the punter, wouldn't give us the bolter's chance. So our role is to observe and report on Japanese activities and to send back reports on ship and aircraft movements. Now, our first job is to get ourselves organized for supplies and see if we can organize the natives to help us, and at the same time, see if we can get them to work for us and keep us hidden from the Japs. Incidentally, our force will be known as S-Force.
S for silly, I'd say.
S for small. That's my guess.
Could be both. Small and silly.
Cheer up. The other blokes got back to Aussie safely. There's hope for us yet.
Oh, so there we are. We'll dig in here and get ourselves organized, then get down to work. As you all know, there'll be plenty to do, particularly if the Japanese get to hear that the others have gone and there's only a handful of us left here.
Unfortunately, it appeared the Japanese reconnaissance aircraft picked up traces of the evacuation from the beach, and the enemy made a fairly correct reading of the situation. So it wasn't long before the Japanese sent a strong force penetrating into the area where the Australians were organizing for their role. There started to flow back to S-Force headquarters rumors and reports of increasing Japanese patrol activity, closing in towards the coffee plantation area where they had established their base.
Nothing on the air, Phil?
No. All quiet on the ether run.
Wish it was as quiet on the home front. All the signs are the Japs are awake to us. The natives keep telling us they're heading this way.
Doesn't mean they know we're here.
The way I see it, it does. The Japs haven't bothered about this area before. Why should they now? Except they know that there are Australians here. And a pretty small force of Australians, too. If they thought the main force was still here, they'd be coming a lot more cautiously. A lot more cautiously.
You send shivers down my spine. Why not wait till the Japs get really close to us before you start fighting?
That close enough?
Yes, the Japs.
What do you think it is? The Yankee Marines? Will I get the ponies?
Yes, Ron. It might be a false alarm, but we'd better get this wireless equipment packed. Sounds like the Japs might be onto us.
As I was just saying.
As you were just saying. Whoa there. Hold still. Now, Jack, you get up on that pony and get up that ridge with this equipment. And don't lose those cipher bags. Off you go. Hope Jack can handle that pony.
I hope so, too. He's got those bad legs, Phil. If he gets thrown, he's never going to be able to catch that pony again. Get down! Blame him! Uh-huh. There goes our radio gear. You can say goodbye to that.
And Jack's been thrown. He's down. He can hardly hobble. I can't catch the pony.
Goodbye to the ciphers, too. Come on, Phil, let's get out of this. The radio and ciphers have gone, but we don't want to go with them. You think that'll work, Phil?
Doesn't look too smart, but it's the best we can do. The transmitting key is made out of bamboo, and we've built up the rest of the set with what we could find. Oh, we'll soon see. Here goes. We've contacted Darwin, sir.
Good. First class.
They hear us loud and clear, sir.
That's something. Good to be in touch with Australia again. We should be able to get down to work soon. This site up here on the ridge gives us a good vantage point.
Just picked up an alarm, sir, from our observation post overlooking the village. Large Japanese patrol moving along a track that runs close to our position here, sir.
How close?
Less than half a mile, sir.
All right. We'll send a patrol out to keep an eye on them. Meanwhile, we may as well be ready here.
Right, sir. Round up the ponies, will you, Ron? What's that?
A shot. Looks like one of the blokes fired a shot by accident. That'll draw the crabs. There it is. Let's pull the plug out.
Yes. No hope of the Japs going past us now. We better get going. Oh, and right away. They're onto us with mortars. Come on, Ron. Get up there, pony. Oh, take it easy there, old girl. You're all right. A Jap can't see. Haven't you read that they're all blind? Easy now, girl. Take it quiet.
Where are we heading for, Phil?
Towards the river. Are the boys holding the Japs up?
Only just. I saw a big bunch of Japs come up over the rise. One of them was holding a Jap flag, but Bully Hayes gave the flag bearer a burst, and they all vanished back over the ridge. But they're onto us. Too many of them for us, Phil. We just have to keep going.
As long as these bullets only keep coming close, I can control this pony. But if she gets hit... Look, take it easy now, old lady. We're close to the river now, and you'll be safe. You better be. We can't afford to lose this wireless. Well, here we are now. Oh, she's hit, Ron. The horse is hit, and there she goes down into the river.
And the radio. Goodbye, Australia.
The current's taken her right away.
Come on, mate. No good breathing over a pony. We've got to get out of here, and quick. If we get cut off now, we'll cop what that pony got. Come on.
They're still looking for us, Ron.
Yeah. They're fair dinkum. How long have we been on the run? 4 days?
About then.
And 1 meal a day. If you could call it a meal. Bit of sago palm and a slice of buffalo hide. That Jap plane gone yet?
Yeah. Let's make a dash across this clearing. Then we've only got to get up that ridge.
Yeah. Only. If those natives have ever been having us on, we're not going to be able to keep on much longer.
Well, maybe. But let's see if there are Australians there. You ready to move? Okay. Come on. They'll be there. They've got to be. I reckon I've never been so glad to see anybody as those Z Special Force blokes.
I'll say. It's good to be with mates again. But we've still got to get off.
A month and a day since we were here last, Ron.
Yep. And now it's our turn. Fella feels sort of crook about getting out, eh? No show if we stayed, though, Phil. The Japs are right onto us. Cut us off from food.
Yes. They got us off balance and kept us running.
The blokes couldn't have stood it much longer. How's the time?
Any time now, Ron. It's just on dusk.
You reckon that Yank submarine has sighted that white rag we hung on the scrub?
Yes, but he's not going to surface until after dusk. He's probably had a good look at us through his periscope. Listen. The Hudsons. Dead on time. See 'em? 5 of the little buttes. Here they come.
Hell's bells, but they're low.
Don't want the Japs getting onto us, do you? Look, they've dropped the dinghies. Come on, let's pick 'em up. Here's one. The valve is busted on this one. We won't be paddling out to any submarine on this.
Nor on this one. Let's get the others. Here's one that's okey doke.
Oh, it's the only one. 1 out of 5. Some of us can get out to the sub anyway. Well, let's take it back to the boys.
Here come the boys now, and running. And look out there, the sub. It's surfacing.
We're the last, aren't we, Ron?
Yep, the last. I hope we're welcome aboard this sub. I don't like the way those Yanks are standing up there with those Tommy guns trained on us.
Better than looking at a Jap woodpecker.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, so long, Timor. I reckon those Japs won't know what to do with themselves now that all the Aussies are gone.
Down into the submarine, the United States submarine Gudgeon, veteran of many attacks on the enemy, went the last Australians off Timor, and then the submarine submerged. The American sailors handed over dry clothing and gave up their bunks to these last commandos from Timor. And for 8 days, while the USS Gudgeon headed for Fremantle, the emaciated and exhausted Australians fed on tinned chicken, ice cream, and coffee, food they'd dreamed of for months, while they kept a mighty Japanese force occupied in a fantastic game of hide and seek. Theirs was a withdrawal at the end of a vital job well done.
War Correspondent, recorded by Robert Peach Productions, is presented for your entertainment by the Australian Army's Directorate of Public Relations.